Good afternoon, good morning to the audience who are joining our webinar today. So for those who are new to this one, I would like to inform that this webinar organized by AIT Extensions of the Asian Institute of Technology, which is based in Thailand, and AIT is the higher education institutions that we are promoting the leaderships, educations, and also higher education professional working in different areas. And what we are trying to do is that every month, at least 2-3 times, to convey the informations and messages about the subject matters and also the new scientific areas where those areas can also benefit to everybody's, in the world of the academic, in the world of the research, and also in the world of the professional practice, including the young professionals and also the young generations of our society, of our global societies. So when we first started with this idea of having the session today, I have discussed with the speaker today, Yuki, and also my colleagues at AIT. We have found that, at the end of the day, in terms of the reporting of the Sustainable Development Goals and also Sustainable Developments, many people, organizations need a lot of meaningful tools and instruments that can, help them to make sure that the data and also the system of the data are available for them to really do analytics and analysis so that the reporting of the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, and also the information sharing can be impeccable to every organizations in the countries and also, at the global level. So we, more than the word of interest, we are so keen to really drop the small drop of the water today on the topics that related to the data platform that will help us as researchers and also practitioners and academicians and projects people will have the platform to really put together the data that makes sense with the new approach or with the advanced approach called the nature-based solution. And that would be helping us to really create a friendly, equipment for data analysis and also for reporting that somehow at the end of the day would help us to really do some, analysis and reporting results of the impact of the sustainable development programs and projects and initiatives for us. So that is about it. And I would like to, give the big thanks to Dr. Yuki Yoshida, that giving time to us today to spend with you. And I believe that Dr. Yuki will be able to, with her material, will be able to give you a very, somehow of the hot issues on the tools that will further, not to give the solution, but the tools that will further for you to think about and how you can really map that tools, put into the metric that you want to use into your projects, initiative, and research in the future. So I would give the opportunities to Mr. Shaheen to introduce Dr. Yuki a little bit, and then after that we go to Dr. Yuki presentation.
So Dr. Yuki Yoshida, working at the Asia Pacific Climate Change Adaptation Research Section in the Center for Climate Change Adaptation at National Institute for Environmental Studies, Japan. He's her working focusing human and nature relationships in context, people values, social context, and behavior. She has diversifical engagement with as a lead author for the transformative change assessment of the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. She is also a team member of APPLAT, that means Asia Pacific Climate Change Adaptation Information Platform. She is also a collaborator developing field research. Right now, she is engaged with 2 projects in Fiji and Philippines on climate change impacts, development needs, cultural, human-natural relationship. She's also serving as a scoping expert, upcoming IPCC special report on climate change, climate and cities. So overall, she's an expert in the human-nature relationships, and right now today she will deliver the speech on data analytics in context natural resource management and focusing sustainable development goals. So further to do, welcome to Dr. Yoki Ishida for her lecture on this topic and to this webinar. So let's all together invite Dr. Yoki Ishida for her speech and lecture these sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Shahin and Joe. I hope you hear me well. Yes, it's great to be here, and thank you to the participants for your time. I'm hopeful that you'll be able to walk away from this session with some actionable tools and knowledge on nature-based solutions and some online tools to help actualize this potential solution towards sustainable development. So just to get us going, I noticed that we have quite a diverse range of participants today. I'm going to start with basics on nature-based solutions with some more updated material, which I imagine you'll have varying degrees of familiarity with. But so nature-based solutions, as you may be familiar with, is one means basically towards, say, a society in harmony with nature. It's one that addresses various societal challenges. This is a relatively recent concept, but there are multiple different definitions. Here I've picked up two, one widely cited one from the IUCN 2016 and another more recent one from the UN Environment Assembly. And you'll notice that they have a lot of similarity. The blue part talking about what it is, the protection, the management, restoration of ecosystems in order to address various challenges effectively and adaptively. And in yellow, while simultaneously providing various human and biodiversity benefits. So nature-based solutions, NBS, are synergistic and cost-effective responses to climate, biodiversity, and development challenges. In the background of this slide here, you see the purple bar chart, and that's the number of publications on nature-based solutions. And you'll see that this has surged in the last 5 years. This is a relatively recent term, but it's not a new concept, but it is something relatively gaining a lot of traction in the recent years. The IPBES, the Intergovernmental Panel for Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, released a assessment in 2019, noting that 37% of mitigation targets for the Paris Agreement could be addressed with nature-based solutions. More recently, UNEP released a finding that nature-based infrastructure solutions, so nature-based solutions, can influence 79% of all targets across the SDGs. So you see a lot of potential, and this is, starting to look at some specific actual solutions and the various co-benefits that it offers. So on the left here, you have technical solutions in blue, for example, renewable energy, direct air capture. On the right side, we have nature-based solutions, afforestation, blue carbon, various representative solutions. And then this is just to give a very broad look. But if you look at the dark green areas, you can see that the nature-based solutions offer a lot of different different benefits in both environmental and social dimensions compared to the technical solutions, which are more targeted to predictably address issues. At the same time, in COP27 a few years ago, there was explicit encouragement of parties to consider nature-based solutions, or in other words, ecosystem-based approaches for mitigation and adaptation action. However, a report last year by IUCN mentioned that there's still considerable potential remaining, especially considering the multiple societal benefits that healthy ecosystems provide. And S&P Global Corporate Sustainability Assessment data also points to this unrealized potential, noting that nature-based solutions can or could play a larger role in corporate decarbonization and climate adaptation strategies. So we have all of this evidence or scientific knowledge saying, nature-based solutions have all this potential to address societal challenges, but that potential isn't yet being realized. And this is again looking at scientific publications, which I entirely recognize is not necessarily the state of actual practical application, but it is an indicator of who's working on it and where. And I've just pulled this off of Web of Science to get a general sense of who's talking about nature-based solutions. And you can see on the pie graph, 61% of publications on nature-based solutions come from Europe. And the fancy table is the top 25 countries of these. In contrast, if you look at just publications on nature in general, and this is not specifying nature as in biodiversity, but any nature, this is just as a contrast of publications work in general, you see a much more even spread. In other words, this is just a very rough picture saying that a lot of the work on nature-based solution is coming out of Europe. Asia, the Pacific, Oceania. So we're talking about 18%. A lot of it coming from China and India, but nature-based solutions are very context dependent. If you look at the different biomes in the globe, Europe is, generally all temperate deciduous forest. Asia has a whole variety, tropical rainforest, temperate areas as well. Higher north, we have, even savanna. So we have a lot of different ecosystems, and yet most of the publication is coming straight out of just one, one biome. On the left side here, we have distribution of ecosystem services. It's quite an old estimate by Costanza, but just also to visually depict, you see the Asia area, Thailand included, showing a lot of high values of ecosystem services. And this is, again, just a rough depiction to show, a lot has been done in Europe, but Asia looks very different. Also, Asia looks very rich in terms of capacity, potential for these nature-based solutions. And looking at barriers to implementation, this is a comparison of barriers to the implementation of nature-based solutions and gray infrastructure conducted in Europe, but with practitioners to give a sense of, what people are actually feeling as a barrier. And again, this is in Europe, where there tends to be a higher level of recognition and interest and support for nature-based solutions. So while there are some common barriers, there are some specific to nature-based solutions, and these are especially lack of expertise and knowledge. Came up over and over in practitioners not feeling, having the confidence or to go for or switch to nature-based solutions because they're so familiar with gray infrastructure and they don't have a lot of expertise or knowledge about nature-based solutions. Similarly, lack of evidence on performance and co-benefits came up, and gray path dependency. So they're familiar with the gray path, and financing. And financing, especially because the co-benefits of nature-based solutions are very general. They're public goods. For example, improved air quality or aesthetic improved aesthetics, the greenery, institutions aren't necessarily able or willing to pay for those because those don't generally directly generate investment direct returns on investment necessarily, at least not quickly and predictably in the same sense as gray infrastructure. And so there is some barrier specific to nature-based solutions. So nature-based solutions is implemented at the local level, which requires context-specific information, such as downscale data. Additionally, one effective approach to raising the awareness and capacity building is the dissemination of best practices. Because it's so context-specific, you can't just, give a cookie cutter textbook on here's how to implement nature-based solutions. But one way to go about it is to show a different range of, some people did it this way and other people did it this way, and maybe you have similarities with these people in this way, but then your ecosystem maybe have similar traits as this community. So sharing best practices can be one effective way to learn and to also disseminate information on nature-based solutions. And this is where we come to AP-PLAT, the Asia Pacific Climate Change Adaptation Information Platform. Grand goal is to work towards a climate resilient Asia Pacific. Our goal is to contribute to the sustainability and resilience of the Asia Pacific region by informing decisions and supporting adaptation actions. Just a little bit of background. We are based at the National Institute for Environmental Studies in Japan. Within it, the Center for Climate Change Adaptation. And this center was established according to a law, the Climate Change Adaptation Act in Japan that was implemented in 2018. And within it, it specified that also NICE, my institution, is to develop an international system for sharing information on climate change. So AP-PLAT was launched based on this. They were funded through the Ministry of Environment of Japan with the goal of supporting the Asia Pacific towards these ends of climate change adaptation. So the Center for Climate Change Adaptation does not only host AP-PLAT, we also host a domestically geared sibling platform. This one has been around since August 2016. There are some English pages as well, if you're interested. It's more geared domestically, but it is a much more matured website in case you're interested. And we also conduct research. I am also a researcher, including on adaptation measures, on observational research and monitoring of climate change impacts. We also provide technical advice to local authorities and regional climate change adaptation centers within Japan and also broader. So within Japan, at least, the law does point to us to be the supporters of various local authorities in terms of climate change adaptation, because this is a need that came up through climate change impacts, but that not all government centers, local governments especially, are prepared to address. So that's why we have researchers like us and also these websites, information platforms to disseminate relevant information. AP-PLAT consists of tools, scientific information, and capacity development. I'll share some of that today. And the idea is to bridge science at the Center for Climate Change Adaptation with stakeholders, including decision makers, but also various others. This is our URL. I'll guide you towards the website eventually also. And just to give you a quick overview of some of the different tools that we offer. One is ClimoCast. I'll have you hopefully work with it a little bit, kind of fiddle with it later. So this one offers downscale climate projections in the forms of maps, charts, and downloadable data. There are also YouTube tutorials so that we are aware that there are various digital capacities. What's interesting about this one is that it provides, for those familiar with climate projections, it uses CMIP 6, which is the latest climate projections. And downscaling climate projections actually is very data intensive and time intensive. It requires, supercomputers working at small portion at a time. But what ClimateCast does, it's kind of a fast food version. So it does a bigger kind of a rougher calculation, but it really downscales climate projections to the local level so that we don't have to wait years while we have the super precise local downscale data, which might never come if you don't have the funding. But ClimateCast provides it universally. So that's where we come in. And then the second tool, Climate Impact Viewer. This is another map tool, but it hosts various different data from different research projects on different climate impact assessments of various sectors. And if you fiddle around with it, you'll notice some of the models cover different geographical ranges. Some of them don't have the full geographical coverage. That's because that research project didn't, that's just according to the range of the research project itself. But you can access actual scientific outlets, basically outputs of projects through this viewer. ClimateKit is a database of online tools and data. So this includes our tools. You can see ClimateCast there, but also others. So if you're looking for something, you could go there to see if, and use the filter function to see if the internet hosts other tools and data that may be of help to you. Adaptation Database is our latest update. It hosts different best practices, and I'll bring you back to one of those later. So just to note that all of these are undergoing constant development. So you'll see that ClimateKit, for example, we are working on an update of its filtering function. So try it now, but come back to it in a few months and a year also and see how it might have improved. In terms of capacity development, we have different pages, one of it being adaptation planning, geared towards policymakers or people developing adaptation plans. You saw that finance was one of the big barriers for many things, but also including nature-based solutions. And we have advice and resources for people looking for resource mobilization, basically grants, etc., to fund adaptation, potentially using nature-based solutions within their municipality or locality. And within capacity development, we also have pages on e-learning courses, webinars, tools, e-learning courses, including ones on nature-based solutions. So we have a series on nature-based solutions for the local communities. This one consists of 4 chapters, basically, on understanding nature-based solutions, incorporating them into local policy and financing processes, and practical examples. And I'd like to take just 2 minutes to share with you the shortest such case example. So here we have AP Plat. This is what it looks like right now. And if you go to, there are various ways to go to it, but this is the page that I was showing. The e-learning courses are basically made out of videos. But here's one e-learning course on nature-based solutions for local communities. All of the content is available for free on YouTube, for example. And here, let me share one example from Bhutan. This is the shortest one that we had. Oh, dear.
The Kingdom of Bhutan, a small country in the Himalayas, is known for its unique efforts to develop a balanced nation based on the gross national happiness concept. The country aims to do this not only for its socioeconomic development, but also for promotion of conservation of the natural environment and traditional culture. The Gangte Popji area was designated as Bhutan's 3rd and largest Ramsar wetland in 2016. This beautiful place is home to the endangered black-necked crane. However, in the wave of the nation's economic development, as well as globalization, there have been several proposals from the outside region to build large hotels which is placing a growing burden on the local natural environment. As NBS, a local environmental NGO has developed ecotourism as a basis for environmental education. With the cooperation of the national and local governments, the project established a system where the economic benefits of tourism are directly linked to the improvement of livelihoods of local communities by promoting community-based sustainable tourism rather than tourism development by foreign capital. The local environmental NGO collaborated with international partners from various countries like Japan and Austria and developed homestays, trained local guides, developed local souvenir products and eco trails, and set up a community-based tourism management organization to manage these activities, thereby creating a system to properly circulate the economic benefits of tourism within the community. By doing so, residents became aware that the proper conservation of cranes and wetlands had helped them become a tourist resource and improve their livelihoods. And as a result, a virtuous cycle was created in which they voluntarily participated in wetland conservation activities.
So that was one case study. There are other videos. And there's also here the database that I showed you earlier, which hosts a lot more. And we're also building on this. So we do expect to have a few hundred more this year, and we're aiming towards at least 1,000. So please look forward to that as well. The database, you can also filter or search, including for nature-based solutions. So this may be of interest to some of you. Please come back and browse through, see if there's some that may be of relevance to you. This is where I'd like to engage you, the audience, in some exercises. That was nature-based solutions. And just by the way, within the e-learning courses, you'll find INAS, which is short for Inspired by Nature-Based Actions and Solutions, which is one platform that's directly geared towards nature-based solutions. And I can send you the link for that as well, which may be of interest to you. And now to hands-on practice. So we saw, well, we will see ClimateCast from the website. It hosts different modes, map modes, chart modes, and in a second, I'll show you 3 tasks basically for you to actually experiment, fiddle with it, and to see how this might work. Well, I'll also send, as promised, the link to the Nature-Based Solutions website. But here, this is ClimateCast, which I'd like you to experiment with right now. A couple things to note. You can choose the location down to the local district, but you have to go from level 0 to level 2. So for example, I'm just picking alphabetically. First the country and then the municipality and so on. On the left-hand side, you have the different scenarios. You can choose the particular climate model that you're looking at, the variable you want to look at, whether you want to look at a decadal range or yearly values. You can download a CSV of the outputs. And if you go to the far left side, you can also look at a chart version of these outputs. So you have different socioeconomic shared pathways, scenarios, climate scenarios, ranging from basically best case to worst case scenario. And then on the left, towards the horizontal rows, you have different climate models. And on the chart, you can choose which ones of these, which combinations you'd like to see. But without much further ado, because the idea is that this website is navigable to the first comer. Please click around and experiment how you might look at different outputs of a chosen location at the same time, at different scales, for these 3 exercises. So choose a city, anywhere you like. And the first exercise is to first download historical temperatures. So display the historical year-to-year temperature of annual mean changes in the temperature and download that CSV file. Number 2 is compare the projected temperatures of different climate scenarios. So you'll see the shared socioeconomic pathways show a whole 4 different ranges of future climate projections. So use the divide maps mode. I didn't show that to you, so see if you can figure it out. And display temperatures at the end of the century according to these 4 different scenarios. And then go to this chart mode and look at the different temperature projections according to 10 different climate models under one climate scenario, which is, and I'm going to specify SSP 585. So I hope that's understandable. I'm going to give 5 minutes. And at the end, I hope to call on some of you. So please be prepared to potentially share your screen and let us know how things look for your chosen city. So I don't have a timer, but and I'm at a different time zone. But I don't think this is very complicated, so I hope you've already started clicking around. I'll come back to you at 42 past the hour, and I'm available on chat or here for any questions. So here's one example. This is Tsukuba in Japan, where we happen to be based. This is looking at the average temperature on a yearly basis from 1951 to present. And you can download this, the CSV, and use it in whatever it means you as needed. Make your own chart. If you use the divide maps function, you can display 4 different variations, up to 4 different variations of projections. So this is looking at 4 different low to very high emission scenario of different average temperatures in 2091 to 2100 in Tsukuba. And then looking at the chart mode, here's 10 different models. So this is another thing that may make climate projections a bit difficult or feel complicated, overwhelming for lay people or for government people who are practitioners who are not necessarily trained as climate scientists. But climate models, climate projections are based on different models, and they have different advantages or strengths or weaknesses in what they're best at predicting. And here we have 10 different models predicting all the same thing, and you can see, how they vary and the full range of them to get a sense of, if you look at the whole range, then you get a general sense of where we're headed rather than relying on one or the other. So I hope you're able to do that for your chosen favorite city. And I hope you'll go back and try to engage with that at your own time in the future. Just to summarize, again, nature-based solutions hold the potential to synergistically and cost-effectively address societal challenges, climate, biodiversity, and development. But this potential remains largely unrealized, and there are lots of regional differences. Asia doesn't seem to be realizing the potential as much yet. And AP Plat does strive towards supporting climate resilient development in the Asia Pacific by providing scientific information tools and capacity development to address barriers to the uptake of nature-based solutions. Thank you very much for your time. That's all from me. And as I mentioned in the way, AP Plat is continuous progress. If AP Plat is having technical issues that made it difficult today, then please let us know through the contact form. And we're glad to receive any suggestions or requests on various aspects of functionality as well as content. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Yuki. I saw Miss Chitana. Nishata, you raise your hand, please. Please go on if you want to. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I had a technical glitch, but now I can open the website, and I just tried using it, and while writing paper, we draw something like R square just to justify the figure. So is there anything such as R square content on the graph here? Like, can we do that?
Thank you for the question. I'm glad the technical glitch is solved. I'm not sure I entirely understand, but I guess what I can say is the data itself, as you saw, is downloadable. So I hope you can take that and apply that to, I'm guessing that's a software.
No, no. Okay, so yeah, I'll try that later. But I just the in statistics there is one value called R square value. So to
Oh,
see the
okay. Of the
temporal analysis, we get the value. We show that value while writing papers. So is this website? Can we do that in this website as
we
well?
don't
I
show
just want to.
the R squared value. You mean the statistical?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, no, we do not show that right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. That was my
Sorry about
concern.
that.
Thank you.
Mr. Sharma, for your comments and questions. Anybody else would like to share your comment and questions to Dr. Yuki? Maybe Dr. Yuki, I can raise one of the query about the system. So since this one is the NBS, and we know that this system has not been 100% completed. So what do you think about the incorporation of the economics factors, socioeconomic factors, the livelihood factors into it, and what are the main stream data that you require in order to create another dots of the whole macro view into the system in relation to the social factors, economic factors, especially at the local level.
Thank you for the question. Just to make sure that I understand it correctly, you're asking about, the data we provide in terms of the social development aspect towards the implementation of nature-based solutions. To be frank, we don't currently offer purely social aspects. So we're more focused on the climate side, which is obviously also necessary. We do partner with SCAP, UN SCAP, and they have some more vulnerability assessments. So I'm very glad to share that as well. I can try to share you the link. SCAP has an Asia Pacific Risk and Resilience portal. They're working on it. We have a MOA, and we are working actively towards doing this at a larger scale. But they do offer some, especially in the Maldives, they conducted a specific downscaled assessment, and they do have social vulnerability assessment down to the level of, where are the schools and where are the people living.
Yeah. Okay. So that's exactly my questions and my query, because when we are doing the downscaling and also when we want to do this vulnerability assessment, then we perhaps at the project level, we perhaps need the comprehensive data, including the social and economic data.
Absolutely.
To see perhaps the probable impact to the livelihoods. Thank you for the question. We have, yes, so we got the link from you. Any other questions from the audience? Dr. Yuki, in relations to your table on slide number 3, it is related to the non-technical aspects. So what are the that you think? What else that we need to complete this platform in order to address the necessity of the non-technical aspect?
Sorry, I lost you for a second there. Could you repeat your question? This is the table you meant?
Nature-based solution.
Could you please repeat your question, Joe?
Yes. Yeah, apart from the technical solutions, when we are talking about the NBS, what else that we need to also include into this platform in order to complete the platform to address the NBS? Yes.
That's a great question. So yeah, like you mentioned, I do think that obviously if we're to try and provide the full set of data necessary, we definitely need a lot of socioeconomic variables. Obviously,
yeah,
the different nature-based solutions, the options also depend on the resource availability. So I think that's another dimension when we talk about best practices or what might be a feasible options for the user at hand. And I guess I would also note one caveat with nature-based solutions is that they can, if you don't do them well, if you don't consult the local community, if you don't make sure that they're not, for example, replacing communities, displacing communities in order to implement something, then you're missing the point. So there are, I didn't cover this, but there are, for example, IUCN gold standards to consider when implementing them to make sure you're avoiding potential risks. And then the other aspect about nature-based solutions, I touched on this earlier, is that the benefits, a lot of benefits aren't necessarily measurable or measured. So we have environmental dimensions, different things listed here, but then, for example, say greenery has psychological benefits, and that's not listed. Kind of more of the intangible things are not necessarily going to make this list, potentially because the evidence takes so much more time to accumulate. But that doesn't mean that they're not there. So one of the policy recommendations that came out of some of the European work is that there should be a switch of the burden of proof from nature-based solutions having to prove themselves better than technical solutions to technical solutions having to prove themselves better than nature-based solutions. So that kind of paradigm shift, I think, does really make sense in this sense, in this case, especially because technical solutions are directed predictably towards a problem, while as nature-based solutions are much more multifaceted, and we don't necessarily know the full range of their benefits. I hope that kind of tangentially answers your question.
Thank you very much. Yeah. No, I mean, the slide that you just showed a while ago, I think it is very interesting for us, for AIT, and also for researchers and for students and for the project staff. I think in terms of those are the metrics that we can perhaps have the future research questions or application questions, how far we can really look in terms different of the metric of the solution to read the NBS, and the same can make the NBS more advanced, adjusted into the local context. I have my own interest question, and I believe that this is from your presentation, which is the ecosystem service. So how this term ecosystem service has the implications to the whole idea of the application platform of the NBS. So is that related demand size considerations or the of the ecosystem? Is there anything that can also crack down some of the conceptual importance that we can think about ecosystem services?
Thank you. That's a very big discussion point. Let's see how to be brief on that. So I didn't fully catch you, but I think you were talking about ecosystem services, the concept of this, ecosystems being the service provider, and then nature-based kind of solutions also being this, not kind of a loaded terminology. There's kind of a movement going beyond ecosystem services. I did cite quite an old paper for that map to the contributions of nature, right? Acknowledging that nature is not just, we're not just the consumer of nature, that there's also potentially not just good services, but undesirable effects of nature as well. And nature-based solutions, I think, tries to be neutral on that. But if you're pointing at this, I do agree that it doesn't, so far the narrative doesn't necessarily capture possible impacts, the bad impacts of nature itself. There's a lot of discussion on possible bad impacts of nature-based solutions on, say, human communities, but maybe not so much on how that for example, you add greenery and you get mosquitoes or something. Those undesirable impacts maybe might not be being considered as much, and maybe they ought to make the table as well.
The idea, I believe so. I mean, I think so. It is also trying to make sense of what is the net values of the contribution of the ecosystem at the end of the day. And I think this is somehow the platform is provided for. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Yes, others, keep on asking question myself. Any others, can also maybe another 1 or 2 questions before we close these sessions.
Okay, Dr. Q.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ijo, Mr. Cholnachin. Dr. Yogi, I'm not asking the question, just since you are a practitioner, just curious to know, like, how do you find that new generation accepting NBS, where there is a factor of time period to recovering the present status of disaster or this sort of uncertain happening? How that means your experience on new generations accepting this NBS to minimize or using the NBS in context present climate change scenarios.
Thank you. So you're talking about kind of the unpredictability of nature-based solutions, especially amongst the new generation. That's a good one. Nature-based solutions, yeah, the co-benefits are not all of them are measured, but the impacts also are, fuzzy. And so relating to the previous question as well, not all of the impacts are necessarily understood or predictable. And that's generally it turns out to be oftentimes the positive side. But at the same time, for example, I can think back to 2011 here in Fukushima, where the forest, the tree embankment that was supposed to, slow down the tsunami, that got washed down, broken up by the tsunami, and then it's ended up injuring people. So that's definitely an unexpected impact of a nature-based solution. Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer your question. Maybe just to say that maybe as a society, we're looking for too much precision. Kind of, we have such an engineering approach sometimes. We're very efficiency oriented. But I think we're starting to learn that efficiency doesn't necessarily result in resilience. We need some redundancy to make sure if this very efficient option fails, then we need option B. And having that redundancy, having both A and B there, makes us more prepared for the unpredictables. And in this age of climate change, we really do need to be, we have to work in uncertainty. We have to leave room for unpredictability. And in that sense, I think nature-based solutions are going down that are in that directionality. I think leaving it some buffer zone, not needing for it to behave entirely predictably, it's something that we as a society maybe need to give room for, in general. Thanks for the question.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't see any further comments or questions. The right time to really, I believe that we will keep contact with Dr. Yuki and her organization to really look at the platform and also the data information on the website. And also maybe at one point of time, maybe we also getting Dr. Yuki to come back to us, maybe online or in person to AIT here to really share her experience with us. Because even in AIT environments of the research, we do have a lot of solutions where we can, I think, map out into the platform that you have, and that may be raising another research questions or maybe advancing of the real solutions for us to be able to be happy at the 2030. Also, thank you all and thank you for your time, and we are looking forward to see you again, to meet you again when we organize another webinar at AIT Extension. So thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Yugi. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for reaching out. And